From the fire department point of view in Florida, the BCID lawsuit revealed two important problems. The first being the high-rise evacuation matter, the second being potential legal liability for not being proactive in that area. One way to protect the disabled and limit liability is to solve the evacuation problem. To do that, we enlisted the help of an expert, Chief Mike Nugent with Broward County Fire Special Operations. A highly decorated 30-year veteran, Chief Nugent is at the top of his field. We're fortunate and proud to have him consult on this project. The chief got involved because his area covers a large number of high-rise condominium and retirement buildings. By their nature, these buildings have a large number of disabled, elderly, and other high-risk occupants. That entire area is less than 6 feet above sea level. If a Sandy-type event happened there, all those buildings would be flooded. A large number of disabled people could become trapped on the upper floors, as in New York. To prevent that happening in South Florida, Chief Nugent has a plan to retrofit those buildings with new technology. Inspired by the events in New York, including the BCID lawsuit, this new technology provides evacuation and other critical functions for the disabled. Your group is committed to the idea of independence. Think of this as a paradigm shift away from depending on outside help to becoming more self-sufficient. It's all part of a broader concept we call pre-planning for self-sufficiency. The first step in pre-planning is recognizing that in the aftermath of a disaster, outside help will be in short supply. That puts a premium on developing the resources in-house to perform important functions such as evacuation on site. That seemingly difficult job is made simple with the use of a new machine developed by firefighters in South Florida. Our innovative new system utilizes hardware that'll be familiar to many people with disabilities. The overhead beam with a movable harness and electric motor to lift and lower the patient are standard equipment wherever people with disabilities are cared for. We took that concept out on a balcony and created the new state-of-the-art in supplemental evacuation for the disabled. When it's ready for public use, the device will be rated to 100 floors. But the early R&D and testing has been done on the ground level. Our test subject is presumed to be a wheelchair user with a body weight of 200 pounds. The lady assisting him is his caregiver. The evacuation begins with an electric motor lifting the man up to the beam where the harness is secured to the movable trolley. Then, with the help of his caregiver, he's maneuvered over the railing and rolled to the end of the beam. Once in position, the caregiver, or in this case the evacuee, unhooks from the trolley and is lowered to the ground where people are waiting to receive him. As a wheelchair user, his device and any other personal or medical effects he may need for an extended evacuation would be lowered to the ground first and waiting with an attendant. The device works in both directions and gives the tenants the equivalent of an emergency elevator. The unique two-way capability enables tenants to leave the building for a short period of time if needed and still return to their upper floor residence. This could prove vital for people that require regular medical attention. They can leave, go to a hospital or their doctor, be treated, and still return to their apartment. The freedom to come and go is an important element of our new concept. This completely changes the calculus in determining who to evacuate and when, or whether to evacuate at all. The judge in your lawsuit called for better ways and methodologies for evacuating the disabled. The device you're looking at is the first in a line of products we're developing to meet that need. We believe this new approach can play an important role in solving the problem. In terms of safety codes, it's classified under supplemental evacuation. For buildings without balconies, the elevator shaft is a perfect place for evacuation. The drawing shows how our standard overhead beam can be adapted for elevator use with the appropriate hardware. The conventional wisdom about avoiding elevator shafts in an emergency is correct, but it applies to fire and smoke conditions. With the elevator cars locked out, a special tool to open the doors, and safety measures including netting in front of the opening, this can become a viable option. And if someone has to be evacuated during a Sandy type event, the elevator shaft is your only evacuation route. Given that many of the lobbies will be flooded, if a medical emergency happens on an upper floor, such as a heart attack, the patient could be lowered down through the elevator shaft and brought back in on the second or third floor. At that point, depending on conditions, the patient can be picked up by boat or helicopter. The judge in the Aer-Bcid lawsuit correctly noted the lack of evacuation devices in New York buildings. The reason being the products available at the time weren't well suited for large-scale use. Conversely, this new device was created for that exact purpose and is the new benchmark. We've been doing high-angle rescue and evacuation drills for over 20 years. People taking part typically treat the whole experience like an amusement park ride. They describe it as fun, exciting, maybe a little scary, but never frightening or dangerous. But for those with an extreme fear of heights, we'll offer a special harness with a wraparound upper section that produces a blinder effect. The artwork is crude, but suggests how that would work. It doesn't enclose the user's head like a hood, but it does restrict vision looking down, which is the key. The image also illustrates the use of another important safety feature, the guideline. That's the cable shown running from the end of the beam to a point on the ground. When the evacuee is being lowered, the harness is hooked to the guideline. This enables the user to be guided to a predetermined landing area. Even in strong wind, the guideline will keep the evacuee away from the building and descending in a straight line. The picture also shows one of the lines anchored away from the base of the building and the evacuee coming down at an angle. That's important in buildings where architectural features or landscaping prevent a vertical descent. From the beginning, the goal was to produce a device people would feel safe and comfortable using. The combination of familiar-looking hardware, new and innovative features, and firefighter support create that comfort level. The system comes in kit form and stores in a carry case on a hand truck as shown. Installing the device takes less than 15 minutes and 2 people. The main support bolts are put in from the floor above and go all the way through the concrete. This is the preferred method whenever conditions allow. The bolts come out of the ceiling below as shown. The overhead beam is lightweight, high-strength aluminum. At under 25 pounds, 2 men can secure it to the ceiling in 5 minutes. The prototype is at ground level. When operating at height, the best practices in fall protection will be observed, including safety lines for the operator and the overhead beam. Once the beam is secured to the ceiling, the movable trolley mounts in just seconds. The lifting and lowering motor in the prototype bolts directly to the floor. The production version will incorporate it into a rolling chassis. The mobile platform does more than simplify installation. It enables the device to be relocated throughout the building wherever needed. Both are anchored to the floor using conventional hardware as shown. Prepping the site is easy and requires no major changes to the building. The idea is to have at least one location on each floor where the holes are pre-drilled and set with anchors. When not in use, the holes will all be plugged or capped with protective covers. They'll keep out water and debris and leave a minimal cosmetic footprint. There is no one-size-fits-all ownership scenario, but here's a partial list of those with a vested interest in seeing this concept implemented. To give you an idea what a bargain this kind of protection will be, you can't even clean a 30-story building for what it would take to equip it with this device. At a projected $25,000 per building, it's a bargain compared to many ADA or handicap-related upgrades.